How do you approach leading people whose skills or personality differs from yours?
Everybody has very different personalities, right?
Yeah.
Very different strengths and very different weaknesses. So you're not really hiring people with similar characteristics. You're hiring people who would contribute. I still believe pre-sales is one of the best jobs in the world because pre-sales get the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah.
You are still remaining technical and you are still have
Getting
that
a commission.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done business in the GCC before I started doing business in Africa. Has family ever taught you something about patience or perspective as a leader?
One thing which I would have done more would be read more. I picked up reading a little bit towards the later part of 20s, I would say.
How do you intentionally create trust and open communication in your teams? Like,
You can't fake it. You have to be just genuine. I had a very early discovery that I'm not talented at anything.
Yeah.
So I was not good at sports. I was not good at arts.
okay, I was laughing because I'm like, wait, who says that?
And I think that helped me a lot because I kind of had that realization that, Gopan, if you need to do something good, you need to work bloody hard.
Yeah. Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with Gopan. Earlier, we talked about leadership and building great teams. In this part, we talk about exploring what it really takes to grow into leadership, the transitions, the challenges, the people dynamics, and the balance it takes to sustain it all. So welcome back to part 2, guys. So from technical expert to people leader, this is where we're at. I want to shift from execution to empowerment and building inclusive teams that perform in our discussion. So you began your journey in a very technical space, as you talked about, and now lead diverse teams and cross-functional for that matter. What's that evolution like for you, going from being the one doing the work to leading others to perform?
Yeah, I think letting things go
Yeah.
is important. So you still, because I have a technical background because of which you are in meetings and you end up saying things which, and again, I've got advice about Gopan, take a step back
can
because
handle.
yeah. So even from my leaders, right? So I say
Yeah.
that you take a step back, let people do that. So I think that is important. From having a technical background is always very helpful in especially in the kind of complex subjects which we are talking about. Salespeople, gone are the days when you are just talking about weather and having coffee without really adding much value to a
the
busy
customer.
CISO or a CIO. So you need to add value in those conversations, and to
Yeah.
do that, you need to have knowledge, right? So
Yeah.
the curiosity, learning about stuff, very
Yeah.
ever evolving things, which is
Yeah.
always important. So technical background is fine, and then I still believe pre-sales is one of the best jobs in the world because pre-sales get the best of both worlds, right? You
Yeah.
are still remaining technical and you are still have
Getting
that
a commission.
Yeah, exactly. So you have you are solving complex problems
Yeah.
by solutioning really, and then you also need to read the room. You need to have the business acumen to
Yes.
understand who is serious, who is not serious, when it's
Yeah.
going to close, and all of that, right? So yeah, I think. Because I worked with some of the best sellers in the world, I would say, without exaggerating. And I could learn a lot from people
them.
from very close quarters when I was in SC for a big
Yes.
part of my career.
Yeah.
So I think that did not, although I've never done direct sales,
Yes.
sales leadership when people are reporting to you, are salespeople reporting to you. I know what a good seller looks like, right? So that has helped me a big time. And then again, fundamental principles of leadership about some people, all they care about is money, right? Some people care about president's clubs and recognitions and titles and emails, recognizing them. So you need to really understand those nuances on what makes him or her happy. Or then you play according to that. I think.
Yes. I think that one of the follow-up questions was that learning to let go of control. But now, how do you approach leading people whose skills or personality differs from yours? Because
in fact, I mean, everybody in our team, and you were part of the team, everybody has very different personalities, right?
Yeah.
Very different strengths and very different weaknesses. So you're not really hiring people with similar characteristics. You're hiring people who would contribute. If I go to a cricket analogy,
Yeah.
an opener is different from a middle order batsman, and both of them are very good.
Good at
You need
whatever
to
they
have
do, yeah.
whatever they do, right? So you need to have like a combination of right people in the team, whether it is sales, pre-sales, marketing, channel, inside sales, all of that, right? So very important to have the right strengths within the collectively. You are bringing the going back to the Misi piece, right? So you are bringing that strength to the team. I would say you don't need to have the I mean, again, I think it's a Steve Jobs quote only, that you need to hire people who are smarter than you, right? So I've had advice from somebody who which I didn't take that advice, because he advised me that don't hire that particular individual because he may take your role, right? That is such a poor advice, and that is such a poor way of looking at individuals, right? So I don't mind somebody taking my role so that I can take the role above that, right? So then I think you need to hire people who are very good and who would bring value to the team, which you may not even possess. So those things are very important for us to. So yeah, I think it's a no-brainer for me. I've never confused on that piece. That should I hire somebody who is not as good as me, kind of a thing. I've never thought of it that way.
It's ironic, because when people are looking at sports, like everybody understands why they need the best player at the best midfielder and the best what do you call those other things, man? Football people. Everybody understands why, like, it's important to have the best at that. But then when it comes to life, people want to take a gamble for selfish interest. While I'm like, if you in the sports world, having the best in your team means everybody gets to shine at their own different elements, but collectively for one common goal. And I don't think people do understand the beauty and the value of that. But anyway, I think we discussed about culture before, but I wanted to ask, because I think from a diversity standpoint, I'm always trying to have the conversations around having the whole movement around having women in tech, and then there's the whole agenda about the Black women, females particularly within the tech space. Because I was one of the people in your team, I wanted to ask. I'm always a believer that I want the conversations around diversity to be heard by the people who give opportunities, who've taken a chance on the people from diverse backgrounds. And so, what does diversity mean to you? And just beyond gender and beyond culture, what does diversity mean? And also with reference to like the dynamic I was sharing.
Yeah, so you have always made jokes around you being pulled into the center of a photograph because wanted to show diversity in the photograph. So I would just say that
they're called poster child.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say that we don't need to fake it. Because you really need to have that at the core of what you do, right? So don't look at anything from a. It will eventually let it pan out the way it wants to pan out. Don't look at things from a race or color or people may need support. Don't put anybody in or out because of that reason, is what I always believed. You need to look at people from a again, going back to the sports team analogy, right? So who he or she bringing what value to the team, and then look at that, and don't look at it from a tick in the box perspective.
Because organizations are really pushing. One of the you've brought out really something solid there. Like, a lot of organizations are putting their agenda, while the intent might seem good. What it has done is it hides and masks the transformation of culture. And in fact, I'll give you a good example. Is during this period that I was looking for a job for better part of of the year, one of the things that I observed is, now that there is no regulation, because Trump said forget diversity and equity, I don't care. Now that organizations aren't mandated, you can see how this is looking when it comes to hiring. So like before, sadly, my resume was top, because sometimes I'd get a message from a recruiter saying, "Hi, we're an international company and we are looking to build diverse teams." And usually it's just typical for, "Hi, you're, a competent Black woman and female in tech, and we would love to have you in our team." And it's like, because there's a huge push, they look for you intentionally. And I'm not saying that, but I never want to get an opportunity just because of the way I look. Like, I want to get an opportunity because I'm competent enough. I want my race and everything to be a thing that happens because someone was trying to be pushed to be more mindful, because we do understand that even with AI now, the hiring platforms have still their own limitations. But that understanding and realizing, so going back to what you just said, that it's beyond, when you're looking at diversity, it's beyond like just race and color. It's, yes, you're a female, yes, you're Black, or yes, you're Asian, but are you competent for the job?
Yeah, you need to find the right balance, I think, because sometimes the point which you said is, I myself debate it on my head about. So when I hired, when you joined us, we had like four people I hired within a matter of 2 months.
Yes, yes.
One similar age group.
Yeah.
So one was a South African, one was Saudi Arabian, and one was a Kenyan, and one was an Indian.
Yeah.
So like very different, diverse from that, and I was. I would be lying if I say that I did not look at diversity as a point of view when I was trying to hire people. But then I think that should not be the core criteria. It should just pan out, right? And
organic.
Yeah, and people should not feel that they are left out. Or asked to be in the photograph because of that particular thing. So you should be part of that, right?
It's interesting because how it shows up is, like when I was saying, like in our discussions, I never felt like an afterthought in discussions. And it's because the culture of the organization really did give opportunity, because sometimes you could get the opportunity and you realize once you're in the opportunity that no, you're just supposed to be here. You're supposed to be seen but not heard. Because that's what, African culture, that's usually the language. You're supposed to be seen but not heard. But yeah, on to the next. Have you ever seen, okay, I don't know whether you have this one, but let me hear your perspective. Have you ever seen diversity lead to a breakthrough moment on a project?
I can't think of. See, again, I'll tell you from a leadership angle. You learn a lot from diverse teams, right? So the amount of with the GCC national and the team, I learned a lot about the culture from that side, which I didn't know. I've learned a lot from you about you telling me about taking people out for lunch or dinner and they won't let you pay because of a cultural element there, right? A female.
Yes, and yet I'm supposed to expense it.
Exactly. So you, I won't say. So I've learned a lot. I would say learned a lot.
But in terms of breakthrough, let me maybe take you, because I do have examples.
Okay.
Of breakthrough. Okay. So if you look at the nuance of how we were diverse in our teams, some of the deals from a relational perspective, because we had diversity, it was easier to build context. So like when you're talking with a customer, and this is how like a customer is navigating the process, having like the diversity in the team with the people from those different areas who are dealing with maybe people from those teams, you get to realize, no, this is how these people
I totally agree. I totally agree on that. I didn't capture that question with that right essence from that. But yes, 100% I agree. You get those nuances which you've not even thought about it because you didn't have the background or you didn't have the enough knowledge on that particular part. So especially while I was working with you, I've learned a lot on that side of things.
Africa, I think. I've done business in the GCC before I started doing business in Africa focused, and I'm African, and it was a whole beast. It was a learning, I think, for both of us.
Oh, for sure.
But also, like I think one of the ones that I consider a breakthrough is how, like for example, how we now, and imagine thinking it's still Africa, but it was different culture. Like how we managed to pull some of those Tunis deals. I think our diverse personalities navigated the balance of how we put pressure on the customer and the partner to like make things fall through.
Yeah.
And even in the times, I think in some of the conversations, I remember one of the biggest deals we were working on in Nigeria. There was so much politics in the deal, and I think the diversity allowed for one to look at like the bad person.
Yeah. And you coming out of the call and then you and I talking about this and understanding that. So my understanding is this, Ivy. What do you think? And you said, Gopan, you're wrong.
That's not
Your
what these guys were trying to
understanding
say. Yeah. Absolutely. But then, I mean, eventually it led to like some solid wins. And that's why I'm saying,
100%.
like it led to a lot of, like, I'm sure there are deals we lost. Like, I think I could think of like maybe some deals we lost because in that particular account, there was a nuance we missed. Yeah. So even every great team has moments of tension, all right? Especially when strong minds and big goals collide. How do you personally navigate conflict within your teams? I don't know. Have we had conflict? Okay, maybe as from a manager. I'm trying to think, have I ever been in a conflict situation in the team?
So first of all, I don't see conflict as a negative thing. Conflict, to progress, you need friction, right? So that is important. So I've had several conflicts with a couple of people in the team regularly, and which is, and I love some of these. See, as long as individuals look at this attacking the problem than the person
more objectively,
that is. So because you know that you are working towards a common goal, and you're talking about two different perspectives, and you argue, you debate, and then you arrive at a conclusion where both parties agree that you have agreed on this. We are on the same page. Then it is fine. Right? I'll tell you one small thing, right? So in my, this was 2007, I believe, one of my early days of my job. So I walked into this GM of this company, my own company. So I'm having a conversation, big room, very nice room. And he had a poster on the wall, Winston Churchill quote, I think, which says, if two people agree on everything, one of them is not necessary, right? And that caught my thing, and I've kept that in my background after post-COVID thing now. That when people come on call, especially when you are in a position of power, when you are in an authoritative role or something, you're talking to somebody who come on a call with you, and you look at this poster, and you know that because as a early 20s person sitting in front of my GM those days. I love that particular thing because I just looked at the poster and felt like, okay, if
I can speak my mind.
Yeah, if that is his philosophy, that means I can speak my mind, right? So I think conflicts are fine. I mean, I don't see any problem with that as long as you are not attacking the person, you are attacking the problem, right? So
I think the challenge with a lot of people, why most people avoid conflict and having conversations is that like a lot of people struggle with being very objective and the discomfort that comes with sitting in conflict. I would presumably think I'm a very highly confrontational person. Like I want to get to it. Like you brought it up, let's get to it. But I do know that I engage with people who, when you get to it, as opposed to it feeling like a moment for us to like release ourselves, they feel like this is a bashing moment, and I'm not keen to have this kind of discussion. And a lot of people avoid conflict. But what you just said, I mean, in terms of when people realize that having different minds is not like a negative thing, it changes perspective.
Yeah, even on your personal relationships, right? So sometimes you look at disagreement as dislike. Which is these are very different things. So I can completely disagree with one of your view. But that has nothing to do with how much I like you. Right? So these are very different things, right? So people tend to sometimes feel like, oh, why are you disagreeing with me? You're supposed to agree with everything I say.
I mean, right? Otherwise it means we have an issue. You've just reminded me, I think when there was a company, when I joined, I told the guy I was working with in the team that just in case we ever have like an issue and we maybe argue over something, a number or whatever, we could still go for lunch. Like, the disagreement was focused on one area of our life, we can just, let's separate that this and our social engagement are not related.
Oh, yeah.
While I do know maybe sometimes after like a tough whatever, someone just needs to like take a breath, but like don't burden yourself as though this says anything about the way I see you per se, right? It's just different points of view.
Again, I think you need to have emotional intelligence applied to all of this, because
And maturity.
you should not you should know what level of percentage of things you can go with a particular individual.
Yeah.
So certain people in my team, I go all out because I know that they won't
can
break,
take it,
they can take it, and vice versa, right? So we talk about. I've written an article on this about. I don't know I don't know who was the original author of this, but three gates, right? So is it true? Is the first gate? Is it necessary? Is the second gate? And third is it kind? So as long as you have these three gates tick in the box,
the discussion can go.
Discussion can go. No issues at all.
Yep, absolutely. So I was gonna. What's your philosophy when two members don't see eye to eye? Have you ever had such situations?
I've had situations like that. Making sure that you are, I would rather apply transparency there. Bringing people in the same room would be good, I think.
As opposed to like the
having individual pocket conversations, because you get the perspective on, again, empathy plays a role. Why nobody is bad, right? So somebody is saying that for a particular reason, and getting to the why is very important. Why is she or he mentioning that statement?
Yes, or feeling a specific type of
something
way.
like that. So maybe a certain team member who's not part of sales, so part of, say, marketing or inside sales or something, they get compensated on a certain way. So if you would have noticed, I always ask these questions on how do you get compensated? Is it because is that the reason why you are arguing, right? So you get to the bottom of that thing, and then make sure that people talk to each other.
I think you've already said this about. Oh, no, but this is, I think we've talked about this, because I was going to ask, I don't think this is conflict, but the question was, have you ever had to handle conflict between yourself and a team member, and how did you repair the trust?
Oh, I've had conflicts.
Have you repaired the trust?
At least people who reported to me, I've always repaired the trust. People with whom, see, when you are especially in my pre-sales days, you sometimes have conflicts with your seller. And seller and SCs go hand in hand all the time, right? So sometimes you obviously you try to repair the trust for sure, but sometimes it would leave
a scar.
So you need to, ironically, my best friend is my seller. So he was my seller many years ago, right? So I've got like some very good relationships which I took from the professional world, who came as, apart from my college and school and all of that, but right from my jobs also, I've taken some really good relationships, which you take it forwards, and conflicts happen, but as long as it is in a very positive sense, I believe that's...
And the communication and transparency, and I guess it's, again, I think everything just ties to culture. If you come from an organization where people, when you're in organizations where everybody is seeking to self-preserve, then there is the, shadow box, people trying to punch each other, like from the back and whatnot. But when everything is transparent, the way people navigate discussions, even conflict, is you do understand that nobody's entirely having bad intentions. Sometimes it's just, in the moment it may feel as such. The impact is how you feel is understandable.
100%.
But like if you sit down and have a discussion, you'd realize that maybe the perspective is different and you could move forward. So you said conflict can actually be healthy. The question, so what advice would you give to a new leader who avoids conflict out of fear of being disliked?
I don't think leaders should worry about being liked at all. Being likable is not a thing for a leader, because again, I think it's a Steve Jobs quote only, where he says that if you want to be liked by everybody, you go and sell ice cream. Right, so don't be a leader. So leaders, you should be prepared to be not liked by everybody, but that's fine. You are working towards a particular common goal and all of that.
Yeah.
I'll tell one, not specifically on this particular thing, but for example, sometimes you I've had as a child I've had an experience where I was maybe 9 or 10 years old at that time when my dad was working in government in a role where he could approve or not approve something, right? So there were few people, couple of men who came to my home. So he was about to go to office early morning. I didn't have school for some reason. I was there, and they were arguing with him. We were talking about conflict, and they were trying to. So I didn't know what was happening. I was a kid, and then he almost asked them to leave the house, right? So they didn't leave, and he just went inside, and then. They had so much of cash in a particular newspaper wrapped around it, and they just gave it to me and said that just give it to your dad, and we are leaving. And they just stepped out, and I didn't know, I was a kid, right? So I just ran inside and told my dad that, hey, somebody is. So he came out and he blasted these guys, said I'll call police or whatever. They were trying to bribe him for something, and again very. So it's okay not to be liked by lots of people, but what you need to protect is your core values, right? So your integrity, that kind of stuff. So very early, and he didn't even teach me on some of these things, but you just watched and learned, right?
Yeah. And I think one of the things I think I appreciate about my upbringing is I was raised in a home where despite the typical traditional African culture where your parent is right and whatnot, I was still allowed to like express myself and express my views. And so what it's helped me do is getting into the world, I've been able to like fight for myself. And so I've built this and also I guess the more you do stuff and stand out for yourself and then see the results, you get the boldness to do it even more. And so I'm now more focused on what you had said earlier, like excellence, integrity, my values, and then the ripple effect is whatever. So if people like me, am I content with the way I did what I did or the way I'm doing things? Did I do it to the best of my ability? Then I'm content with that. If I'm liked or disliked, then that's out of scope. But I think if you don't pursue excellence, then you always know that there was something that was lacking that you could do better, and 100%. You're feeling like, oh, okay, maybe if I did, they would have liked me, or if I didn't. But when you pursue anything with excellence, that's never like a worry. Yeah. So into a bit of family, you've led high levels at high levels while staying grounded in your personal life, because I know you have like a morning routine actually. How do you keep the balance between ambition and peace?
I think family plays a massive role in everybody's life. I think obviously family is such a thing. If that is not in order, everything else get impacted. I'm ever grateful to my wife, right? So she brings the right balance. I would say way more talented than me, but kind of gave a compromise on letting me go and do what I want to do.
Oh yeah, she is talented.
So I was at some point about 7-8 years I was traveling every Sunday morning. I was in the airport going to Saudi Arabia, coming back on Wednesday. Almost many years I did when my kids were too small, and without her she runs the show. Right. So completely. So I would say getting the family in order is super important. That one is very important. You to have a partner who would, especially if you're trying to upbringing kids and all of that. I think that plays a massive role. When people use terms like family in the workplace, I don't like that. Because I love to compare workplace with the sports team, where you are working towards a goal and all of that. You do not fire your son if he is underperforming, right? So that is
so because then if you say it's a family, it sets the wrong expectations.
It sets a wrong expectation. So I think personal life is super important. You need to find time to spend with your family. I try to do maybe take my kids to bed at least 4 days a week. I do that, and maybe I spend like 45 minutes, an hour in the night.
Nice. That's nice.
With spend time with them, and I don't really. We just talk about some of these core values. I kind of talk about some of these things in stories or whatever, right? So so I don't even look into any studies element as such, because my wife is anyway taking care of that stuff. So I try to infuse these value system into them.
I mean, there's the importance of like having a father figure like in a person's life, and I think one of the things that I observed with you, well, because I mean I've also interacted with your wife and your children, is the fact that like despite how busy your work life is, there's a bit of intentionality. Because I remember, I don't know what day I was trying to schedule a meeting on a particular day, and you're like, no, this day I watch. My wife and I usually go for movies on this.
In fact, tonight we are going for a movie. So almost every weekend we go for a movie together. So
yes. And I think that intentionality. So even when someone, sometimes I think people feel like they must take, like their relationships must take the pain of the sacrifice someone does in terms of building their career. But I mean, I don't believe in like work-life balance, but I genuinely believe in like work-life integration in the sense that if you could have pockets of your day and pockets of your life catered to throughout the day. It could be a nice lunch with your partner or a nice breakfast with your partner, and you have your many meetings and an hour with your kids. It creates a stable balance.
100%.
Yeah. What helps you disconnect from work?
I was thinking, do I disconnect from work?
You said integration.
Yeah, I think because it's all the amount of flexibility I get from work. So if somebody, a close friend is coming during office hours and I need to go and pick him or her up from the airport, I do that, right? So I don't really see, because especially in sales, you are doing it's more like doing business, right? So you are running your own autonomy piece, which you said earlier. So but I think I try to do maybe not checking emails in the beginning, early part of my day. Although I wake up very early, I try to stay away a little bit like that. Every day may not be possible depending on how stuff are, but I don't have a good answer to that. I need to figure out.
No, do I disconnect? Not quite. I'm always on my phone. But like I think there's one of the things I think we didn't really talk about that I think helped me shape the way, because I've realized that like because I've worked in teams where we were doing the clockwork thing, and I think the work from home with the autonomy, I remember that within the team on calendar, now when you're trying to like go to office, a lot of people have to present that their calendar, they were working from X time to X time. So everybody pretends that it was fully office hours. But one of the things that I did appreciate with the dynamic that the team had, and it's because I guess we also had a balance in the way we did work, is that someone would put, I have a child pick up at this time. This time is booked for lunch. I can, but also keeping in mind that we are results oriented, it sets the space for someone to actually talk about work-life integration like we're talking about. So you could make work part of your life without it feeling like it intrudes with your life.
Yeah, 100%. So parent-teachers meeting. I try to attend most of them. These days it's online even. So you have no reason not to attend that. You know that well in advance. You block 20 minutes, 15 minutes in the diary. No, nothing's going to stop just because if you have that. So I think I've always had the flexibility from my leaders also to do that. And I pass the flexibility to my team.
Has family ever taught you something about patience or perspective as a leader?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Especially as a parent.
I mean, as a parent, I mean, you learn from your parents, you learn from your wife, you learn from your kids. The way they tell you things. So I was coming for this, and my kids, both of them, were listening to me when I was practicing, and they were like, they were asking me questions, prompting me. They were playing the Ivy Auntie. So
Ivy Auntie on TV.
So I think I patience is super important, and you learn that from. Females that play a role in your life, your mom, your wife, I don't have a sister, but
I've just remembered an incident, and I remember me and you talking about it. One of the days, I don't know what discussion we were having on phone, and then your wife said, "Who was that? Who was on phone?" And then you said it was me, and your wife said, I mean, there is no way you are talking to Ivy like that. You have to call and apologize.
Yeah.
And she said, and when you were saying it, you were like, she said that she's a lady. She's not one of the guys, you know. It's interesting. And the way you are explaining to me, it's like, it's interesting to realize that, you know, it's a perspective you would not like necessarily, maybe you would have had, but like having someone who also like observes and is able to like point out aspects for you to become better.
Yeah, so I take a bit of a step back on, because when I said my wife runs the show at home,
Yeah.
I meant that, right? So because
Yeah.
I don't need to take that role because
Yes.
she could do that. I don't need to do that. So yeah, I think it's a balance you bring, and then yeah, I mean obviously you make mistakes during the time, and that's why you're vulnerable, and you are okay to be vulnerable, right?
Yeah, and learn. I think from those around you. Absolutely. So, what rhythms or boundaries keep you as a healthy person?
Health is something which recently a couple of my very close people had some sort of heart attacks or whatever, so which kind of cost me a bit of things to worry. I'm not a big into a gym and that kind of person at all, although most of the people who are part of my life advise me to do that kind of stuff.
What are the lessons looking back what looking back now, what are some of the lessons you wish you knew earlier in your career or leadership journey?
Most of things which I mentioned now, which I picked up over a period of time. So I was not talented at a particular thing as such. I was telling you certain things carried from you as a child itself. You carried doing the right thing when nobody's looking. That kind of stuff. Obviously, you carry. But I would say fail fast, ability to say no. Things like perfection, don't chase perfection, chase excellence. So, a number of those things, I would say. One thing which I would have done more would be read more. I picked up reading a little bit towards the later part of 20s, I would say. I've read lots of books in the self-help, but I wish I would have. This is why I tell my kids that you need to read, right?
No, and your son. Initially when you said you aren't smart, I was like, your son comes across as he is the brainy, like, because even when you sit, like I was listening to him, I'm like, wait, what? Was I like this when I was a kid? Because he is into the books. I remember when you shared the video of your trip to Kenya and how he documented it, and I was like, he's got the like the genius side.
Yeah, but that's true for most of the kids these days, I think, because the kind of availability they have of knowledge and tools and all of that, which we did not have when we were kids, right? So, but yeah, I would say. Yeah, I would have loved to read more books as kids, maybe get a bit more perspective on. So when I do these university sessions these days, the theme of my sessions are always about I wish I knew this in my 20s. And I go and do these. I recently did one when I asked how many of you were born before 2004? When I was passed out of college, I did this in my own college, and nobody was there in the whole room. So,
hey, I'm like, am I that old? Yeah, that's a long time ago. Yo, what? Okay, so what if you could write a short note to your 25-year-old self? What would it say? A short note. I mean, the writer in you.
No, I would just say just believe in yourself and get going. I'm if I turn back, I felt like I'm happy the way things
panned out.
right? So just take your chances. Don't worry about getting everything planned, because things will
fall into place.
It'll fall into place.
Yeah. So we've actually worked together since we've worked together before, and it was such a memorable season for me. What do you think made our collaboration work well? Because I'm trying to make sure that people pick practical, like tools from our dynamic. Of course, in every situation it's different. But what would you say made our collaboration work well?
Yeah. So you are one of the first people who reported to me as a sales leader.
Yes. The one that you actually were there when they were being hired.
Yeah. So that way, I think being a sales leader, you learn from your team, right? So what do you expect from a leader? What do you? So I learned. I think our collaboration worked well because there is a rhythm you operate, right? So, so that is very important. When you are working with each other, you need to know what is important for the other person. I think that worked really well for both of us, where you knew what I wanted and I knew what you wanted. So that was fine. So.
So how do you intentionally create trust and open communication in your teams? Like,
you can't fake it. You have to be just genuine. You genuinely, you people know that you're not doing stuff with a hidden agenda. I think that you just need to be genuine and you need to talk to people.
Be honest and transparent. One of the things I wanted you to also talk about is I remember during one of our one-on-ones, I remember, well, this is exposure for me, but nonetheless, you talked about the three things that were important in the success of me in the job. And I remember those: passion, knowledge, and the other one was, there was one more. I'm trying to remember what it was. Passion, knowledge. And you said the first two, like, I was really good at, and I'm trying to remember the one I was supposed to work on. I don't know if you remember. And you said, and you were like, this is what I assess everybody in the team. And you were able to point out what everyone in the team had and was lacking.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you can remember.
I'm unable to recollect.
Yeah, I'll have to figure out what that is. If I do remember, I'll share it as an Instagram post, guys. But there you have it. As someone in tech, you've seen how fast the world is changing. What kind of leadership do you think the future will demand?
I think you need to just be embracing change. So change is inevitable. I listened to some of these videos about the Homo sapiens evolving. I mean, the amount of changes happen. Like now, I think the pace at which we are changing is like that, right? So 300,000 years Homo sapiens, only last 10,000 years.
Yeah, till today, like when I remember like us studying those things in uni, I'm like, not in uni, in primary and even in high school. In high school. I'm like, were we really baboons? Like, because I don't believe in that philosophy, but whatever. So what's one leadership quality that will never get out of style? Integrity. Guys, now you see, I'm not the only one who runs with this integrity thing. And then how do leaders stay human in an increasingly digital world?
I think it's still very human. I believe humans, regardless of how digital is evolving, basic things in stuff, right? So that is, you need to still use your agentic AIs. You still need to have ability to do that. So fundamental things, right? So integrity, your trust, your discipline, your passion,
character.
Character, all of that.
Yeah. Okay, great. So this has really been an interesting conversation. I think it's been a pleasure having you on the pod. If you guys would like to connect with Gopan, his LinkedIn name and profile is on the bio. On the bio and on the screen right now. So follow him, learn from him. I've learned a lot from him. But at the same time, remain a part of the Grace and Glow Up community to get access to all the individuals that we bring onto the platform and everything that's coming in store for you in 26. So thank you, Gopan.
Thanks, Ivy. Such a pleasure. It was more of a self-realization for me on how I talk about some of these things. I've done lots of interviews, but personal, very, very different. So thanks once again for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you, Gopan, for sharing your wisdom and your journey with us today. I think so many people will resonate with what you said about leadership and being less about control and more about connection. And to everyone listening, if you love this 2-part series, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And share it with someone who's stepping into leadership this season. Let's keep growing and glowing together. See you next week. Gotta love,